In the year 2285, humans had spread far beyond Earth. They lived among hundreds of alien species inside massive circular habitats known as the Unity Rings. These rings floated like silver halos around distant stars. Each one held thousands of beings from dozens of worlds. Humans were not the most powerful species in the galaxy. In fact, many considered them simple, emotional, and sometimes clumsy. But one thing was certain: humans could fix almost anything. Machines, systems, or even relationships, and they always tried. Evan Cole, a 32-year-old technician, was one of these humans. He worked on Unity Ring 7, repairing everything from air filters to power grids. His job was not glamorous, but he loved it. He liked solving problems and keeping things running. While others avoided difficult repairs, Evan saw them as puzzles waiting to be completed. His small workshop sat near the outer edge of the ring. From his window he could see the stars, millions of them scattered like dust across space. Every night before closing his tools, he would take a moment to look out and wonder how far humanity had come. One morning, his datapad beeped. It showed a new repair order: Room 412, Sector 9, Environmental System Resonance Issue. Requester: Lyra of Vareth, Varethi Embassy. Note: the light hums wrong. It feels wrong, Evan frowned. Most repair requests were simple: broken panels, faulty sensors, leaky valves. But this one sounded odd. The light feels wrong. He had heard about the Varethi, a telepathic species known for their calm voices and glowing skin. They rarely interacted with humans directly. The fact that an ambassador from their race had personally sent the request made it even stranger. Still, a job was a job. Evan packed his toolkit and started walking toward Sector 9. The Varethi quarters were located in the quietest part of the ring. The corridor lights were dim, and the air smelled faintly of something sweet and almost like rain. The walls were smooth and pulsed gently with blue light. Everything looked alive, even the metal. He reached room 412 and pressed the door chime. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and Lyra appeared. She was tall, graceful, and almost human in shape, but her skin shimmered faintly like liquid silver under the lights. Her eyes were bright gray, calm yet deep like the reflection of the moon on water. "You are the human technician?" she asked softly. Her voice was clear and musical. "Yes, ma'am," Evan replied, trying not to stare. "Evan Cole, Maintenance Unit 3. You said there's a problem with the light?" Lyra stepped aside. "Please come in." Her quarters were different from any he had seen. The walls curved upward like waves, glowing with soft blue lines. The air felt warm, almost alive, and there was a low humming sound in the background. Not loud, but constant, like the hum of distant power. She pointed toward the ceiling. "That sound. It is not correct. It disrupts my rest." Evan listened carefully. He could hear a faint pulse under the hum, like two notes clashing. To most people, it would sound normal. But maybe for a telepath like her, it truly felt disturbing. He opened his toolkit and began scanning the room. His small device showed small energy waves dancing across the walls. The readings were unusual. The light frequencies were slightly out of sync with the station's main system. "This could be a resonance issue," he said thoughtfully. "The sound waves from the lighting panels might be interfering with your energy field." Lyra tilted her head. "You can sense that?" Evan smiled a little. "Not like you do, but I can read numbers, and these numbers say something's off." For the next hour he worked quietly. Lyra watched from a distance, curious but silent. Every now and then she would close her eyes as if listening to something far away. Evan changed the power settings, replaced a few filters, and adjusted the light frequencies. Finally, he turned to her. "Try it now." She closed her eyes again. The room's hum softened, turning smoother and calmer. A faint smile touched her lips. "Better," she whispered. Then she opened her eyes and looked directly into his. It happened instantly. Evan froze. He felt something, not a sound, not a thought, but a feeling. It was as if someone had gently touched his mind. A wave of warmth spread through his head. Sadness, curiosity, hope, and something he couldn't name. For a second he saw flashes of color. Silver lights, a world of crystal towers, and thousands of glowing beings standing in silence. Then, just as quickly, it was gone. Lyra stepped back, her eyes wide. "You heard me," she said quietly. Evan blinked. "What?" "You heard me," she repeated, more certain now. "In your mind," he rubbed his forehead. I don't know. I just saw something. Maybe I'm tired. Lyra's expression softened, but her eyes still held surprise. It should not be possible. Humans do not hear the mind voice. Yet when I looked at you, there was a link. Evan looked down at his toolkit, pretending to check a setting, though his hands trembled slightly. I just fix machines, ma'am. I don't know about mind links. But deep down, he knew something unusual had happened. As he finished packing his tools, the humming in the room remained steady and peaceful. Lyra walked closer, stopping just a few steps away. Thank you, Evan Cole, she said softly. You have restored balance. He smiled awkwardly. Just doing my job. But before he could leave, she spoke again, her voice almost a whisper. Tell me, when you looked into my eyes, what did you feel? Evan hesitated. He didn't want to sound foolish. It felt like a door opened for a moment, like I saw something beautiful but sad. She nodded slowly. That is what we are, the Varethi. Once our minds were all connected. We shared thoughts across stars. But the connection is fading. Our voices grow weaker with each passing year. He looked at her, unsure what to say. Can't you fix it? Lyra smiled sadly. If we could, I would not need to call a human technician to repair a humming light. Evan chuckled softly, but the sadness in her tone stayed with him. When he left her room, the corridor seemed quieter than before. He kept thinking about what had happened, that strange moment when she looked into his eyes and he felt something impossible. Maybe it was imagination, or maybe humans could connect in ways even aliens didn't understand. Later that night, back in his small cabin, Evan tried to sleep but couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Lyra's face and those glowing silver eyes. He heard faint whispers, not words but emotions, as if someone far away was trying to speak through his thoughts. He sat up and looked at the stars outside his window. What did you do to me, Lyra? He whispered. But no answer came, only the endless silence of space. He turned back toward his workstation and noticed his repair scanner still active. Its screen flickered faintly, showing strange wave patterns, similar to the resonance he saw in Lyra's room. Only this time they were perfectly in sync with his own heartbeat. Evan frowned, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. Whatever had happened in that room, it wasn't over. He didn't know it yet, but this small, strange connection between a human and a telepath would soon become something much greater, something that would change how the galaxy saw humanity forever. The next morning on Unity Ring 7, the corridors hummed softly as thousands of beings went about their daily work. But for Evan Cole, everything felt different. Ever since his visit to Lyra of Vareth's quarters, he couldn't shake the strange feeling in his mind. It was like a quiet echo that followed him. Not a voice, but a presence. He sat at his small workbench, staring at his repair scanner. The screen still showed faint wave patterns pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He had tried to reset it 3 times, but the patterns always came back. Maybe I'm just tired, he whispered to himself. But deep down he knew it was more than that. As he drank his morning tea, his datapad beeped again. Another message. When he opened it, his heart skipped a beat. From Lyra of Vareth message, the light remains stable. Yet something feels incomplete. Could you return for a final calibration? He read the words twice. Incomplete, he repeated softly. He hesitated for a moment, then packed his toolkit and left his workshop. The path to Sector 9 felt longer today. As Evan walked, he kept noticing little things he had never paid attention to before. The way the floor vibrated under alien footsteps, the faint hum of oxygen filters, and even the color shifts in the light panels. It was as if his senses had sharpened overnight. When he reached room 412, the door slid open before he could press the chime. Lyra was already waiting for him. Welcome, Technician Cole, she said, her voice calm but thoughtful. You can just call me Evan, he replied with a small smile. Evan, she repeated slowly, as if testing the sound. Your name has a soft vibration. It fits your mind. He blinked, unsure what that meant, but followed her inside. The room was the same as before, and glowing walls, warm air, and that soothing hum. Yet now it all felt familiar, almost comforting. I checked the readings, he said, setting down his tools. Everything seems stable. Yes, she said softly. But something has changed. When I meditate, I hear faint whispers again. At first I thought it was memory. Then I realized it began the moment you left. Evan frowned. Whispers? Lyra nodded. Our minds, the Varithi minds, were once linked across the stars. We called it the chorus. But for many years, the voices have been fading. Our people live in silence now, each trapped inside their own thoughts. But when I looked into your eyes, something connected. It was faint but real. Evan tried to stay calm. You think I somehow reconnected your telepathy? I think, she said, stepping closer, that your mind carries a frequency ours has lost. He stared at her, unsure how to respond. I'm just a repair tech, not some telepathic scientist. Perhaps, she said gently, but even the smallest wire can complete a great circuit. Her words made him pause. They spent the next few hours testing her theory. Lyra dimmed the lights and activated the resonance system while Evan monitored readings. The blue light around them began to shift, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Focus on calm thought, she said. Do not force it, simply feel. Evan closed his eyes. He tried to relax, letting his mind drift. At first there was only silence. Then slowly he felt it again, that gentle warmth spreading through his thoughts. A faint hum filled the air, and suddenly he saw something. It wasn't a dream or vision. It was like looking through someone else's memory. He saw a vast world bathed in silver light, towers made of glass and crystal, and beings who shone like stars walking among them. Their minds were connected, one vast network of peace and understanding. Then the image darkened. The towers dimmed and the voices faded into silence. The connection broke. Evan opened his eyes with a gasp. I saw it, he whispered. Your world. Vareth, Lyra looked surprised but hopeful. Then it is true. The link works, but how? He asked. Why me? She smiled gently. Humans are different. Your minds are not silent. They are loud, full of emotion and movement. You live in chaos, yet somehow create harmony. Maybe that is what our chorus lost. Evan tried to understand her words. You mean human emotion creates a kind of signal? Exactly, she said, nodding. Your compassion, your curiosity, your persistence, these are forms of energy. We feel them as sound. Perhaps the chorus needs your resonance to live again. He looked down at his hands, still shaking slightly from what he had seen. So what do we do now? Lyra turned to a glowing console near the wall. We test it, together. Over the next few days, Evan visited her quarters again and again. They experimented with different energy frequencies while maintaining their mental connection. Sometimes the link worked only for seconds, other times for minutes. Each time it grew stronger. When they connected, Evan could feel her thoughts like soft waves brushing his mind. She shared memories of her people, their art, their songs, and their quiet sadness. In return, she felt his emotions, curiosity, humor, hope, and even the simple joy of fixing things. One afternoon, after a long session, Lyra looked at him and smiled. You do not realize it, but you have already changed the song of this place. He chuckled. I just wanted to fix a humming light. And you fixed a silence instead, she said softly. Their bond grew deeper, but not in a romantic or forbidden way. More like a deep friendship, built on understanding and shared purpose, however. Their experiments did not go unnoticed. In the control center of Unity Ring 7, a group of council technicians studied strange readings coming from Sector 9. The resonance levels had been fluctuating beyond normal range. Energy spikes appeared that didn't match any known equipment. Is it dangerous? One officer asked. Unknown, another replied. But the readings seem emotional, like they carry a pattern of thought. The council decided to send a team to investigate. Back in Lyra's quarters, Evan noticed the warning light on his datapad blinking red. He checked the message. Alert. Unauthorized energy experiments detected in Sector 9. Inspection scheduled in 24 hours. He showed it to Lyra. They're coming. If they find out we've been running these tests, we could both get in trouble. Lyra's calm expression didn't change. If the council fears knowledge, then perhaps they have forgotten what unity means. Evan sighed. Easy for you to say. I could lose my job, she smiled faintly, and I could lose my position as ambassador. Yet, I would still hear the chorus again. That would be enough. He stared at her for a moment. Her courage reminded him of something deeply human, the willingness to risk comfort for meaning. What if, he said slowly, we show them proof before they shut us down? What if we can make the chorus strong enough to reach other Varithi minds? Lyra's eyes brightened. You would help me? Evan nodded. You asked me to fix something, remember? Maybe this is what you really meant. That night, they prepared one final experiment. They would amplify the resonance field, connecting not just their minds, but sending a wave across the station, a mental broadcast of human and Varethi harmony. Lyra adjusted the control panel while Evan monitored power readings. If this works, she said, our voices may reach others of my kind across the galaxy. And if it doesn't? Evan asked. Then we try again, she replied simply. The soft blue light filled the room once more. Evan took a deep breath and met her gaze. Ready? Ready. As he activated the system, the hum grew louder, wrapping around them like a living song. He felt their connection bloom, stronger than ever before. This time he didn't just see her memories. He saw them, hundreds of Varethi faces turning toward a light in the darkness, hearing the echo of the chorus again for the first time in centuries. Lyra gasped, her silver eyes shining. They hear us, she whispered. Evan, they hear us. The control panel beeped an alarm, warning of an overload. Evan quickly stabilized the field. The energy readings balanced, and the glow faded into a soft pulse. They stood in silence, breathing heavily but smiling. It worked, Evan said quietly. Lyra placed her hand over her heart. You have no idea what you have done. My people will sing again, Evan smiled. I just fixed a signal. No, she said softly. You reminded us what it means to feel. Outside the room, deep in the structure of the unity ring, faint vibrations spread outward, invisible ripples of thought and empathy. Somewhere beyond the stars, other Varethi minds stirred, hearing a faint melody long forgotten, and at the center of it all stood one human technician and one alien ambassador, proving that even in a galaxy full of cold machinery and logic, the strongest power was still the human heart. The days after Evan and Lyra's experiment passed in a blur. News of unusual energy readings spread quietly across Unity Ring 7, but no one suspected that a human had just reignited the long-lost chorus of the Varethi. Evan returned to his small workshop, but his mind was restless. He could still feel the soft echo of Lyra's thoughts, the faint hum of Varethi voices threading through his own mind. For the first time, he realized humans weren't just mechanics or workers. They were connectors, able to bridge gaps that technology alone could never fix. He hadn't expected it to feel like this. It was more than curiosity or duty, it was a purpose. Meanwhile, Lyra worked quietly in her quarters, carefully monitoring the network of connected Varethi minds. Slowly across the distant stars, tiny pulses of the chorus began to resonate again. One by one, the Varethi felt something they had not experienced in decades. A shared thought, a shared feeling. But the council had noticed. A team of inspectors approached Sector 9 with urgency. The unusual energy readings were far beyond anything recorded before, and the council feared an uncontrolled surge. If they discovered the connection between Evan and Lyra, it could mean disaster not just for them, but for the trust between species. When the inspectors arrived, they found Evan and Lyra working together, monitoring the hum of the resonance system. Technician Cole, one of the officers, said sternly, "We have detected irregular activity here. You are ordered to shut down all systems immediately." Evan looked at Lyra. Her silver eyes were calm, but there was a hint of worry. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Sir, with all due respect," he said, "these readings are not harmful. In fact, they are restoring something lost." The officer frowned. "Restoring? Explain yourself." Lyra stepped closer, her voice steady and clear. "We are reviving the chorus, the Varethi telepathic network that has faded for decades. With your permission, the signals can spread safely across the station and eventually, across the galaxy." The inspectors exchanged uneasy glances. "You are suggesting a human and an ambassador have created a mental link strong enough to affect multiple lives?" One asked. Evan nodded. "Yes, humans have unique emotions. Curiosity, hope, compassion. It's a frequency that can be shared. It connects minds without harming anyone." For a long moment, the council team was silent. Then one officer stepped forward. "If this works, it could be a breakthrough for all species in the Unity Rings, but if it fails..." Evan held up his hand. "We won't let it fail." Together they prepared one final broadcast, a controlled resonance pulse that would ripple through the entire Unity Ring, reaching every Varethi mind on the station. Lyra adjusted the controls while Evan monitored the energy. "This is it," she said. "Once we begin, there's no turning back." Evan nodded, gripping the panel. "Let's make it count." He activated the system. A soft, glowing wave of light filled the room. The hum of the resonance system rose gently, wrapping around them like a blanket. Evan felt it in his chest first, a warmth that spread to his mind, filling him with clarity and purpose. Then he sensed it, thousands of Varethi voices, faint at first, then growing stronger. They were reaching each other again, feeling the presence of the chorus, the song of their shared history. Lyra's eyes widened as she heard it too. "Evan, it's working." "They're responding." The inspectors stared in astonishment. The energy readings were stable, and the glowing resonance moved outward from Lyra's quarters like ripples in water. Every Varethi mind within the station began to stir, awakening from decades of silence. The human and Varethi connection grew stronger with every passing second. Evan realized that it wasn't just restoring her people, it was teaching them something new. The Varethi had lived in perfect mental harmony, but they had lost the power of individual feeling. Now through humans they could combine unity with emotion. He looked at Lyra and said quietly, I think they're learning to feel again." She smiled, her silver eyes bright. "And you've shown them what humans can do, that even small, ordinary beings can create extraordinary change." For the first time, the council officers spoke. "We underestimated you, human," one said softly. "It seems there is more to your species than we realized." Evan shrugged. "I just did what any human would do, tried to fix something that was broken. But it wasn't just a humming light that had been fixed. It was silence, despair, and the fading voices of an entire species. As the resonance pulse continued to spread, more Varethi began to awaken. They shared thoughts, songs, and memories, their voices weaving together in harmony. The station itself seemed to respond, lights pulsing gently with the rhythm of their restored connection. Some of the aliens on the Unity Ring paused in wonder, feeling faint echoes of the human frequency. They didn't understand it fully, but they could sense its warmth, its power. Even the coldest, most logical species on the station paused to notice. Evan leaned back, exhausted but smiling. "We did it," he whispered. Lyra placed her hand lightly on his shoulder. "No, Evan, you did it. You carried the frequency they had lost. You reminded them what it means to live, to care, to feel." Evan laughed softly. "Guess humans really are good at fixing things." She smiled, and for a moment, they simply stood together in the soft hum of restored resonance. Word of their success soon spread across the Unity Rings. Reports arrived from distant sectors. Varethi everywhere were reconnecting, their telepathy stronger than ever. And in every report, one thing was repeated. A human had made the difference. The council held a meeting to discuss the implications. "It seems humans are not as weak as we assumed," one officer said. "Their ability to feel, to connect is remarkable." "Yes," another agreed. "We have underestimated them. Not in strength or technology, but in empathy and adaptability. Perhaps we have much to learn." Back on Unity Ring 7, Evan returned to his workshop. The hum of the station felt different now. Warmer, lighter, alive in a way it hadn't been before. Lyra visited him one last time before leaving for her embassy. She smiled, looking into his eyes with the same calm intensity as before. "Thank you, Evan Cole," she said. "You fixed more than my room. You fixed the silence of a people." Evan smiled back. "I just did what I could, and I guess humans are made for moments like this." She nodded. "Yes, and perhaps one day the universe will realize that even the smallest gesture of care can echo across the stars." As she left, Evan stood by the window, looking at the stars. For the first time he felt the vastness of space not as empty and cold, but as alive, full of possibilities, connection and wonder. Somewhere out there, humans and Varethi minds sang together silently, in a harmony that only those who cared could hear, and Evan smiled, knowing that he had played a part in something greater than himself. He turned back to his tools, ready for the next repair, the next challenge. Because humanity always fixed what needed fixing. And in that moment, he understood the truth of the galaxy. It wasn't strength or technology that made humans special. It was their heart.